Hello, thanks for being in a new video. This time I have an unboxing of the Nubia Z60S Pro. Let's get started. This device, like several Nubia devices, is very focused on photography, so the photographic system will be most attractive, especially for the price range. In this case, in Mexico, it has been launched at a price of 10,499 pesos. On the screen you see more or less the reference price in dollars. Of course, it is also available in Nubia's global store. It certainly looks very attractive, so let's get to know it out of the box. So, I've got the handset here in my hands. I think it has a design as well where the camera gains a lot of prominence. The module feels pretty sharp. It has a tab on the left side that says, "Be yourself." And in a moment I'll tell you about the specs of these cameras, because the most interesting thing is that the main camera will have a 35mm lens, unlike the vast majority of smartphones today which have 24mm lenses for the main camera. So in a moment I'll tell you what this means in case you don't know the difference. For now, let's get this device powered up and see what else comes over here in the box. So let's see what's first in this envelope, where the key to remove the SIM card tray will be located. We'll also have the quick start guide, better known as the paper slips of a lifetime. There's not much to see here, and what we will also find will be the case, which, as you will notice, in this case comes with a very rigid design. It's a semi-transparent case. In fact, the feel is soft. I find that very curious, and we see that it comes with the Nubia branding on this part. Let's see what it looks like on it, so you can decide whether you would use it with a case or without a case. Let's see also, in fact, by putting this case on it, it gains a matte design. So I think in this case I might consider using it with a case. Although I don't really like the color, but you know, it's up to you. Let me know in the comments if you would use this phone with a case or without a case. For now, let me see what else is in this box. We'll come across the USB-C cable on both sides. It has a red hue, very Nubia style. Obviously this cable is necessary if you want to take advantage of the fastest charging possible. But let's take a look at how powerful the included charger is. And then here we have it. It's an 80-watt charger. It's definitely going to give us a very good experience as well. And in the price range it competes very well. So that's what comes in the box. We're going to go back and save this content. And now we're going to focus on the cell phone so we can get to know it better. And I've already got this device in my hands. So let's give you a tour of its specifications. It has a weight of 220 grams and a thickness of 8.7 millimeters. This obviously without considering the camera module that can get to protrude in a very large way. It has aluminum frames, and as you can see, it comes with a slider on the top that will allow us to quickly access the camera. This is an interesting shortcut that we don't see on all phones, so it can be useful, although it does not integrate the touch trigger that has, for example, the Nubia Focus Pro, which is a much simpler device. So I would have really liked to see that trigger to take pictures in this way. The screen is 6.78 inches with AMOLED technology. Its resolution is 2800 by 1260 pixels. So it's a higher resolution than Full HD. It gives us an excellent level of detail. It also has 120 Hz in its refresh rate and offers a maximum brightness of 1200 nits. It offers its own glass to protect the screen. It doesn't have Gorilla Glass. I don't know if I'm going to have the courage to test the resistance of this device by dropping it on the floor. Let's say that if it is resistant, the better. It also integrates stereo sound with one speaker below, and the other speaker is in the earpiece area for calls. The sound seems to be of good quality. In the review I tell you a little more information. In fact, it also seems to have infrared in this part. But curiously, it does not bring some application to work as a universal remote control. Although I've seen this on other Nubia devices, which is quite strange. However, you can get to install some other applications to try to take advantage of this infrared. The front camera is 16 megapixels with f-aperture 2.45 and fixed focus. It says traditional test here, and in the preview, as you notice, it looks very overexposed. Just so you can see how difficult this backlit photograph was. And the result, as you'll notice, I think is much better in terms of the balance of highlights and shadows it achieves. The front camera is of good quality, and above all, what I notice is that it is much better than the camera that the Nubia Z60 Ultra has. which is supposedly a higher-end device, but remember that the camera of the Nubia Z60 Ultra is under the screen. So in this model we gain much better image quality by having the camera as a cutout in the screen. On the back we will find the main camera of 35mm with 50 megapixels, aperture f1.56 and optical stabilization. Then we have the ultra-wide camera of 13mm with 50 megapixels on its sensor, f aperture 2.0 and autofocus. And finally there is the 80mm telephoto camera with 8 megapixels on its sensor, f aperture 2.4 and optical stabilization. And who knows what this is? Because it's not a camera. If you don't know what millimeters are, they just in some simple way let you know how wide the camera can be. So the ultra-wide camera is 13 millimeters, and as you can see it is super wide. Interestingly, if you want the 24 millimeter distance, you can do it by clicking again on this button, and this would be the traditional 24 millimeter distance that other smartphones give you. However, in this case there's also available the 35mm, which is a little bit closer as if you were zooming in. So it gives you a little bit of a different perspective. And as I was telling you, we also have the 80mm, which is obviously going to be much more zoomed in. And if you press 80 again, you can go up to 170mm. And overall, as I say, they're pretty attractive cameras, especially in the price range where it's not very common to find you with telephoto cameras. And in this case they express it in millimeters, because if they expressed it in terms of optical zoom like smartphones, it would be 2.2x zoom, based on the fact that the main camera is the 35mm camera. But if we were to base it on the traditional 24mm distance, it would actually be zoom 3.3x or so. It may sound a bit confusing, but we have a good photographic system, especially considering that the ultra-wide camera also has autofocus, so it is suitable for macro shots. So we have a very versatile camera from very close up to telephoto portrait scenes and a maximum zoom. Here are some sample pictures. This is the 13mm ultra-wide camera, so you can see that it has a good width. Here is the 35mm camera, which, as I say, gives you a little bit closer distance compared to traditional cameras. Here's another perspective so you can see the difference and how you can also use the 24mm camera setting, which is a little more traditional. It doesn't have as much detail though. And then here are some other examples trying to apply a little more zoom. This photograph is at 35mm. Then the photograph with 80mm, where obviously we have optical quality since we are talking about the lens that comes with the telephoto camera. And then we are applying a little bit more zoom so you can see the maximum it can reach, which obviously at the maximum setting is not going to be as attractive. In this case it already loses level of detail. So I won't say it's a zoom specialist, but in intermediate zoom it can give you a good quality. Obviously here the interesting thing will also be that it can give us portrait photographs at different focal lengths, although it is not always able to keep objects in focus, especially if they are very small objects or with little space. Then it could suffer a little in these aspects. For video recording, the device can reach up to 8K at 30 frames per second, although this exclusively with the main camera. However, you can also record in 4K, both with the ultra-wide camera and the main camera. But the telephoto camera can only be used when recording in full HD. In addition, the front camera does not have the ability to record in 4K either. So it is clear that neither the front camera nor the telephoto camera are that advanced in video recording. The battery is 5100 mAh, supporting 80 watts of charge. We will have to test both the battery life and the power of the load, because in this short time in which we are giving it an initial look is not enough to give an opinion. The device comes with Android 14 and iOS 14, although this operating system really has few additions. As you realize, most of the apps that come by default are from Google, and it has the same aesthetics that we see on ZTE and Red Magic devices, since as you know they are all from the same ZTE family. It also integrates fingerprint reader inside the screen, and in addition to this edition in black color is available in aqua and white color. There are versions with 12 or 16 gigabytes of RAM. I have the 12 gigabyte version, and fortunately in this case, although it does have extended RAM or virtual RAM, is disabled. Finally, I find myself with a device that has virtual RAM disabled. I do not consider it necessary to activate it, considering that it has 12 gigabytes of physical RAM, and there are versions of 256 or 512 gigabytes and up to a terabyte. In this case I have the 256 edition, and just turned on it was showing me 20.82 gigabytes used, which honestly is little space used considering what we've seen on other smartphones, although that also translates to a very clean and very lightweight system with few added features. And finally, the processor is the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2. A considerably powerful processor at this price point, but if you want to have more benchmark references. On a single core it gave us a score of 2049 points. In this price range it is very good. In multi-core it went up to 5565 points. So I repeat that it is a processor really with very good capabilities and very good power. In Antutu it scored 1,568,642 points, confirming us that it will have very good power. And in conjunction with good RAM and good storage, I think they give you a very high performance. We'll see in the video review how it does in the performance test, but for now it looks good. With this we are ending this first unboxing video and first impressions of the Nubia Z60S Pro. Coming soon we will have the video review for more details. I hope you liked this content. If you did, you know you can indicate it, and see you next time.